Had I interjected
Yes.
while you're still speaking?
Yes. First of all, I'm really perturbed by my senator, in whom I have deep respect for, that during the conversation, because he's not able to sustain a consistent, well thought out discussion, he keeps flip-flopping and now jumping into an aspect of talking about independent institutions in our country, like EACC, you know, about the judiciary, which we know are independent institutions from the executive, saying that there is corruption there, that EACC, whether they have reached out to him to tell him that they are being forced to release people who are corrupt, and, you know, playing around that gallery. And I wanted to tell my senior here that with all due respect, because these are also institutions that appear before my committee, it is extremely wrong to indict if you don't have any evidence or throw words just out there on a serious crisis that is happening in our country, and just try and say that, well, if we manage corruption, then the prices of fuel would have gone, you know, would have gone down. I think I would have expected him to be a bit better in how he's arguing his things. Number two, talking that you should have subsidized fuel by 50 shillings. I want to let the senator know that this is the most transparent government. The CS for Treasury has appeared and said the amount that we've been collecting, which is 5 shillings and 40 cents per every liter of diesel and petrol, and of course I think the kerosene is between 0.4 to 4.4, something like that, shillings, as the BDL, Petroleum Development Levy, which then is the money that is a cushion that has now been expended. And you see, you cannot expend it at one go, because we do not know for how long this war is going to be sustained. And therefore, in the initial month, as I indicated earlier, that besides reining on the VAT, which President William Ruto and the government did almost immediately because of being sensitive to its citizenry and the suffering of the people, and then of course to control the inflation. We also touched on about 6.2 billion shillings to be able to reduce the cost of diesel and petrol. The same thing has happened also the second month. And the third, you've also mentioned that we do not know for how long this war is going to go. I did indicate, Dibal, that as we have this discussion, let us also look upon regionally and globally. I told you the prices of fuel has risen up to 76%. You can Google it online. Globally, that is the rise in terms of the fuel prices. But in Kenya, it has been managed ranging between 36 to almost 40%, thereabout, in terms of the price rise. What does that tell you? It tells you the government, the Kenya Kwanza government, or the broad-based government, has done what it could best to be able to mitigate. In comparative to all the other countries, we are doing much better. I did indicate to you, and of course, you did mention the statement that was made by one of the contractors, and I indicated I think we have about 3 on the panel. But let us also appreciate the fact that we are able to manage supply. Finally, I was saying when we began the show, I had my colleague here celebrating, and it took almost 3 minutes or 5 minutes talking about Arsenal. When I talked about our chief diplomat, President William Ruto, who has continued to also represent our country globally, because we are in a global village. In every sphere and space, he has been able to lift the image of Kenya on the forefront. I was celebrating some of the things we need to appreciate about the leaders that we do have. And I don't know why he felt so iked when he was talking about Arsenal. I didn't, of course, I also am Arsenal fan, but I did not have to spend like 5 minutes on this critical show to talk about and celebrating and discussing how you are able to toss some bit of soda here and there when that happened. But what I was talking about is in every front, the government is trying at its best. Of course, some of the proposals that I've had also being floated about is, can we reduce the margins that the petrol station owners earn, and the pump stations, of course, looking at every category of the taxes that are being levied. And you see, we also have to look at it also, Dibal, because we are in a rock and a hard place. If we then go and manage the earnings of these petrol station attendants, are we being concerned also on their overheads? What are the things that happens behind the earnings of those who run the petrol stations? So I think this is a discussion that we need to also look at it globally, not just saying go slash this, slash that, slash the other. I said also we depend on these taxes. I do know that there are some that has been securitized. Some of our roads now are being made across the country, the roads that we all celebrate. Personally, I have a road called Himakinandi Hills Road that it's stalled for 23 years. Right? That is now ongoing. So can I sacrifice that road and say, okay, let that road remain, and then now we manage this bit? So it's a discussion, it's a collective conversation that we need to have as a country. Nonetheless, we will be back to Bunge on 26th, and I'm sure also this is something that will come
especially, yes.
House,
Well, just to
and
come
I'll
back
be
here.
looking forward also
Which orients my thought towards also the National Assembly regarding this particular issue, because there has been calls as well that can we take it down from 8% to